welcome to Smashterpieces, a casual walk through the history of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster. My name is Joe.
And my name is Matt.
And if you're new here, what we are doing on the show is we are playing one game for every character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate from 1984's Duck Hunt to 2019's Fire Emblem Three Houses. And today we are talking about the game representing fighter number 9, Luigi. It is the 2001 GameCube title, Luigi's Mansion. And we're not alone, because if you were listening last episode, we are joined by one Xander Morningstar from NWR. Welcome, Xander, once more.
Suku, yabo yabo.
Yabo yabo.
Hello, pleasure to be here. That's
So,
my Professor Egad impression, in case people are very confused.
Well, occasionally we do have listeners that haven't played the game, so it does help to give context to things that seem obvious.
Maybe if it's too much work, maybe you should put the little Game Boy Horde jingle in before I say that.
I mean, I could do that. I have enough free time in my life. So, Luigi's Mansion. It's kind of a game that the more I think about it, the more it's a little bit shocking that this game exists.
I mean, it's mainly a tech demo to show off all the cool things that the GameCube can do. I think I kind of see it as being pretty clear that that's what it was, and then they felt that they had enough developed that they could sell it as a game.
But it's also I feel like this game has a tone that you don't see out of Mario games. Even Dark Moon and Luigi's Mansion 3, this game feels a lot different from anything else in the series that Nintendo had previously. No, I guess not had previously, because Mario 64 has Big Boo's Hunt, and this is kind of a game of what if we made the whole thing Big Boo's Hunt? What if we made that its own game?
Well, it's I don't remember offhand how many times we've mentioned the Mario style guide that seems to have gone in effect sometime around New Super Mario Brothers, but this there's a clear before and after of the style that the Mario series was allowed to get away with, based on this style guide that may or may not exist. And Luigi's Mansion is firmly in the before period, where Mario games were allowed to be a bit more creative and break the mold a little more. And the later Luigi's Mansion games, while I would say they are definitely more creative overall than your average Mario adventure, they still do kind of fit into that style guide. They feel, at a glance, more like the standard Mario aesthetic, even when they have sort of this more Halloween horror style going to them. And Luigi's Mansion, while definitely still a cartoon game for children, feels more traditional horror than Halloween horror. And I think that is greatly to its benefit, I would say, because it gives the game a unique aesthetic to stand apart from the rest of the Mario franchise that really helps it in selling all of these cool things about the GameCube. It's not just a tech demo, because it feels interesting on its own.
I think I said this on my stream, but the categorization that I would sort of put it alongside is it might be a single rung below on the ranking of this type of horror, but honestly, it's kind of like Courage the Cowardly Dog, where they got away with doing some... Chauncey, if I was a kid that was playing Luigi's Mansion, Chauncey would have scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I can't confirm. I mean, I was a child when I played this game, and it is cartoony still, but even now you're that is a little disturbing. And I did think a lot of it was very scary, particularly the blackout in Area 3, or at the end of Area 3. Yeah, that was nightmare for me. And it was more of just the psychological element of it, because you know instantly what that means. It's not that they're showing you anything, it's just what everything implies. It's simple enough for a kid to understand the gravity of the situation. It's pretty good.
All these rooms that were safe are no longer safe anymore.
And you know just how far into the mansion you are at that point when it happens. It's great. Very well done.
Yeah, I like the blackout a lot. I think that it comes at the perfect time, too. Like you said, it's pretty deep in, so now you need to hunt through the mansion and try to find out where you're supposed to go from here, while the entire thing is crawling with ghosts that you thought you had dealt with. Obviously nowadays I've played this game so many times and I'm so much older that it doesn't really scare me as much, but the feeling of tension and danger is there. And I think that it helps sell the atmosphere a lot.
And I think that's exactly why I categorize this alongside Courage. Like, it feels like it's trying to do the same thing where it's like, how far can we push this without like upping the age rating or without actually traumatizing children?
Yeah, because it definitely, like I said, it's still a cartoon. It doesn't have anything that's genuinely horror, but it toes the line of the scary kind of aesthetic a lot. It's not Halloween horror is the phrase that I use for it, where it's not really supposed to be scary. It's just like the monsters and ghosts and stuff that we use as decoration for Halloween. It's like these are actual horror tropes going on, just in a child friendly way. And that, I think, is the best part about Luigi's Mansion.
I know it's like, it doesn't matter that much, but like the flavor text of the game, it describes each of the portrait ghosts that you find. Like, it just kind of shows you the difference in how they handle these type of characters compared to like the most recent game we just mentioned 3, where they did bring those kind of character ghosts back, but you don't really like, there is no flavor text to them. You just kind of interact with them, but like they are more or less like more of the King Boo minions. Whereas with this one, like, you can actually read about these characters. Like, then most of them are not very hostile until you like kind of engage with them. But like, one of them is just playing pool, one of them is just working out. You know, it's like, and then you capture them and you read about them. Like, oh, this grandma's still knitting the scarf that she worked on when she was living. It's like, it's kind of dark. You know, but okay. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know if that's a part of the style guide, but it is just neat how they handled that. And I kind of miss this tone that you talked about at the very beginning, Joe. It's great to have more Luigi's Mansion games. I'm all for it. I love them, but I do really miss this type of tone in these games, and I think it makes this one really special.
And I think so. Like, for me, it's not just that the tone is kind of different. And like you said, Luigi's Mansion 3 tries to sort of bring back portrait ghosts with like all the unique character ghosts and all that, but they don't really have the same flavor. And I think a big part of it is what you just said, with most of the portrait ghosts in this game aren't hostile until you actively start antagonizing them, at which point they become some of them don't even become hostile after that. The dancing couple doesn't do anything. It's a game about ghost tax collection is the headcanon that I built in my head. But I don't think it's just the tone. I don't think it's just that the portrait ghosts have like their own memorable personalities and stories in that. I think the thing that resonates the most with me about Luigi's Mansion is the mansion feels like a feasible thing to explore.
It's a kind of its own character in a way.
Yeah, it is one environment that you could walk from one end to the other in like, 10 minutes? And it just... I want to use a phrase that I have to give credit to Alex Stacey of Loading Ready Run for. They do a stream called Watch and Play, where they sit down and they play really bad games. And sometimes those bad games are horror games. And for some reason, the thing that kept coming back to me when I was playing Luigi's Mansion and when I was thinking about it the few days after, one of the complaints that he usually has about when they play a really bad horror game is that all of the buildings are like, this building has been like designed by somebody who's never walked into a building. And like Luigi's Mansion is a great example of not that. Every single room in the mansion has a use, has a reason for being there. None of them are just, this is the room you go into because ghosts are here. It's like, oh, this is the mirror room. There's a big mirror in here. Or, oh, this is the safari room where a hunter kept all his fucking pelts or whatever.
Which supposedly there was going to be a hunter ghost that I think was scrapped.
Interesting. Like, but that's, every single room has its own, like, personality or use, and it feels like a house that somebody could feasibly live in, whereas Dark Moon kind of loses that by having multiple mansions and also being mission-based, so it's not really about exploring anymore. And 3, while I think does better than Dark Moon, like, 3, the hotel doesn't feel like a hotel most of the time.
The hotel doesn't even feel like a building that exists.
I think it does in the beginning. It's once you get past that first boss, you know, where they start to switch things up and it becomes like, it's a wacky hotel where every floor is different. Like, that's when it really starts to lose its theming.
Yeah.
Which you can understand, like, why they did that. It would get boring after, because it's such a longer game than the original Luigi's Mansion. But it loses that, like, that character identity in the structure itself of the building, for sure.
Yeah, it stops feeling like a hotel.
I think they were very constrained by the title Luigi's Mansion because it feels like they didn't want everything to be in one building. Like, you go into this area that's in Luigi's Mansion 3 that's clearly themed after, like, a sewer, and it feels like it's supposed to be an underground sewer where, like, pipeworks are, and this is where the plumbing system is, and it's on, like, the 7th floor.
No, it's in the basement.
Oh, is it?
It's in the basement, but you get to it, like, chronologically in the game, like, around where you would be at on the 7th floor. Because you do hop around a bit, but, like, I think it's, like, after the 6th or 7th floor you visit, then you go to the basement.
Okay.
So it's very far into the game.
Okay, so that part's not as egregious, but I'm also thinking of, like...
You're right, though. There's a freaking pyramid above an ocean in that game. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah, like, it just stops feeling like a building that, like, could exist. Like, the mansion in Luigi's Mansion 1 is grounded. It looks like a house you could find in real life. And I think that adds a lot to its personality.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of is set up in a weird way like a house. It's not just like it has all the rooms of a house. Like, it's kind of like, I guess that kind of makes sense. You would put the laundry right next to the butler's room, or you would put all the children next to, like, the mom and dad character, and the, like, conservatory and the ballroom and the dining room. They're all kind of in the same general area. It's interesting how they did that. And there are 2 bathrooms, and they're right above each other, like real bathrooms in a giant house like that. It's just it seems so small, but it's like it's that familiarity that we have as humans who live in houses. Now, I'm sure none of us live in a house that big, but
I wish.
Yeah, I would kill for a house like that.
Man, I'd kill for a house.
Ghosts include. Well, I'll tell you what, the housing market right now, it's booming.
Oh, don't I know?
Yeah. But yeah, it is that familiarity that we connect with that I think adds to it. And even though that might not be something that they were that conscious of, especially in a game where kids play it, it's a small enough thing that I think ties a player to it that really adds to the effect.
Yeah, and that's kind of why in our pre-show talk about it during last episode, we compared it to being like the original Resident Evil, which I think is a really apt comparison because Resident Evil is largely the same idea in its earlier games, where it's one defined space that you're exploring, because horror, I think, works best when you're juxtaposing the familiar with the unfamiliar. It works best when it's these areas that feel natural and feel like they are things that you know, and then these scary, strange things are put into them. And that's why the mansion as a defined space that makes sense is so much better than the hotel that has these wild, wacky themes between them. Because it's something that we can relate to more, and it feels more like something that we feel like we should understand that's being twisted by these supernatural forces. And I think that's just way better. And I think that's why I call Luigi's Mansion 3 Halloween horror. It's not really using horror tropes and elements. It's just using monsters and ghosts and Halloween things to build its game around.
Yeah, and it feels like a set, right? Like the original Luigi's Mansion, all of the furniture, yes, it's dated. You know, it's early 2000s GameCube polygons.
Oh, I think this game still looks great, though.
But it looks amazing, and all of that furniture, it's like, yeah, that looks like real old furniture that it's kind of weird seeing Luigi next to, but because of the tone of it, it kind of works. Whereas with, like Matt said, this Halloween horror aesthetic with the newer Luigi's Mansions, they do go a bit more cartoony, and I think it fits more of the Mario style for sure, and that's great. It's just, it's not really what I think the first one was, and I thought that the first one was a little more effective in that regard. The conversation sounds like we're dumping on 3. 3 is a great game, for sure.
Probably.
I liked 3 quite a bit, and I actually kind of teared up when I hit credits, because like, oh man, I have to wait another 10 years for another Luigi's Mansion.
I'm just realizing, like, the best way I can describe the two games, the comparison between them. Luigi's Mansion feels like they did a floor plan of a house and then figured out where the ghosts were going to be, whereas Luigi's Mansion 3 feels like they designed a bunch of boss ghosts and then designed the hotel floors around these boss ghosts. And I just think that the first one makes, like, a much more interesting sort of environment to be in. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like any of the characters exist in the same... Like, I don't believe that the Pharaoh Empress ghost in Luigi's Mansion 3 exists the same... Like, I don't believe that she's friends with that shark ghost or that, like...
Or the movie director that has Luigi in a kaiju fight.
The movie director, yeah, they just seem so isolated, where it's like... Yeah, it's almost like Home Alone, where it's like there's so many people in one house. I kind of buy that they all like have some sort of relationship with one another. Like maybe the butler and the bodybuilder aren't exactly friends, but like I could see them existing in the same space together. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the heck Bogmire is, but
oh, I love Bog. You know what? That's a good segue to getting into talking about like the bosses, I suppose.
Maybe we should, maybe for those people we mentioned that may not be familiar with the game itself, what is Luigi's Mansion? Because we kind of haven't really explained that.
Oh, that's true. Luigi's Mansion is a game about Luigi getting scammed by a ghost and walking into a mansion full of ghosts.
Yeah, it's the ghost. It's his first appearance.
And then he's given a vacuum by an old crazy man who lives in a shack next to the mansion he supposedly won. And this vacuum can suck up ghosts for some reason.
Because Ghostbusters was a good movie.
Yes, this is true. Ghostbusters is a good movie. Which,
fun fact, I did not see for the first time until 2019, I want to say. It was right before Luigi's Mansion 3 came out, which just kind of shocks myself because I'm a fan of the Luigi's Mansion series. I had never seen Ghostbusters, but I watched all 3 of them back to back.
Oh, I'm sorry you had to watch 2. So
I only liked the first one, the second one, and then the SNL reboot one I didn't really care for. And then I guess this new one is like kind of another spin on it where they're kids. So that looks like, I don't know.
But
we'll see.
Like in Luigi's Mansion, he gets the vacuum that sucks up ghosts and finds out that King Boo has trapped Mario in a painting because Mario, being the not stupid brother, was like, hey, yo, it's kind of super shady that you just won a mansion in a contest you didn't enter, so I'm gonna go see what the fuck's up with that. And then it turns out that was a bad idea because now he's in a painting and Luigi has to save him. And that's pretty much the premise behind Luigi's Mansion. You wander around this mansion, you suck up ghosts. Once you have cleared a room of ghosts, the lights turn on and that room is now safe, basically, for the rest of the game, essentially.
Rinse, repeat, really. That is the game.
Yeah, the gameplay it's a very small, repeated loop. It's one that I think it's for the better that the game is as short as it is, because I think that loop sort of starts to get old around the time that you're getting into Area 4.
Yeah, I want to say that I agree with that 100%, because when I did this game for Original Sound Chat a couple years ago, a lot of the criticisms in reviews at the time were at the fact that the game is so short, but like, I think this game's like the perfect length for what kind of game it is.
I agree. I actually would say, like, even as short as it is, it kind of has padding in itself. You know, it's nice how short it is, and even when you hit Area 4, they're starting to like run out of familiar rooms, because rooms tend to not repeat themselves. I mean, there are a few different like bedrooms, but like,
and that's when you get the telephone room with 3 telephones.
Yeah, the telephone room, and it's like, okay, or the mirror room, which I think exists just to show off that the GameCube's really cool. But like, okay, projector room, cool. Fortune teller room, cold storage, what's that room with like the 40, not 40, there's like 6 dirt mounds that you have to constantly, like, what is that just like a
I think
closet?
that's just it's just the
cellar.
Okay, well, that one's fine then, but like, yeah, the potter, the ceramics studio.
That dust room is not fine, because the GameCube's internal memory could totally remember that I sucked up those fucking piles of dust. I think it was DVD Smith in the chat said the game will never remember that you already sucked up these piles of dust, but it will remember where that boo went to hide until you die.
Yeah, I think my theory is that they did that intentionally, so they could just be like, yeah, I see all these dust effects that we worked on. You're gonna suck these dirt mounds up so many times.
All it does is make that room one of the most frustrating rooms to have to go back and forth in for that fucking boo.
It's awful. You have to go through that room several times.
Yeah. Not to like, I guess if I were to put my hand on this game and touch it up a bit, I would put a door, not like, I wouldn't have you go through that room to get to like the main hallway that takes you to King Boo. I would maybe put like a third door at the bottom of the steps where the basement's at, and like that's the door that takes you into that hallway, but like you have to do the dirt mound room once.
Yeah. Like, it's fine if I have to unlock that door to skip the cellar, but
sure,
wow, really have to do that every time, huh?
Or there's another one where, like, to get to I think it's the second floor, but like it's in the third area. There, you have to kind of you just snake your way all the way through the mansion over and over again. And there's a point in the game where they have you like go back to the twins, or maybe you might have missed something, like you've got to go back to the fortune teller, and I just kind of think that there are spots on the map where you can see you could have added a shortcut here that you could just give the key out later, and they do that very few times. Like there's a key in the bodybuilder room where you can like play on the treadmill, get a key, and that opens up a shortcut. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that more, but there is room for that.
Yeah, I think that's basically, if I had to take one thing from if I had to take 2 things from later Luigi's Mansion games, I do think that is a problem that through the nuclear option, Luigi's Mansion 3 kind of solves, because they're just one area, and you essentially don't have to go back to any of these areas, which again makes it feel a little bit less like you're exploring a place and more like you're just walking into levels.
Well, you do have to, and when you do have to, it sucks. It's like the
yeah,
cat.
It's really annoying because that stupid fucking cat
I'm pretty sure the cat is where I stopped playing Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, it ain't great.
But I'd also, I think that the thing that Luigi's Mansion 3 added that I kept sort of wishing was in this game is I want the slam. I wanted to be able to slam the ghosts.
Yeah, I do think that while I like the overall setup and aesthetic of Luigi's Mansion 1 a lot better, I think the gameplay only got better in 3 because the mechanics of catching ghosts in this game are a little weird. Like, you've got these strange dual analog controls where it's like you're controlling Luigi's trajectory and also how he's holding the poltergust at the same time, and it doesn't make a lot of intuitive sense. To the point that I'm still not totally certain I'm doing it right.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's very... The way I have always described it is it's kind of like fishing, where you have to kind of... It's easier if you have the rumble turned on. You can kind of feel the tug of the ghost, and when it's getting... I don't know the best way to describe it, I suppose, but when the vibration changes, and it's not like a heavy one where you're clearly getting all the health out of the ghost, and it starts to kind of lighten up, that's when you know, like, that line you have is starting to get pulled, and it's probably going to snap, and so you need to kind of give it some slack to let the ghost kind of move around and then pull it back again and kind of keep looping that. Now, there are parts where the ghosts will just break free by design. Like, it's impossible to catch some of them in one go. Most of the ones you find in the rooms you can, but I think all the bosses are impossible. But that's kind of the best way to describe it. Whereas with 3, they introduced that slam mechanic, and it kind of is a completely different shift in the gameplay. You can play it like the original Luigi's Mansion, but that tug and pull thing that I described is kind of absent. It's just keep pulling on them, and eventually they're completely drained because it wants you to slam them. And a lot of criticism of the slam mechanic is that it makes it too easy. However, I find it to be a very rewarding, good feeling when you do slam them. So it's kind of like this back and forth where I enjoy the challenge more of the original Luigi's Mansion and how you capture them, but I think it feels better to be able to just slam them around, and I kind of want to find some sort of in-between. In Dark Moon, it is kind of an in-between, but it leans more towards the slam. You don't actually slam them around, but you just kind of boost.
Yeah, you have the turbo.
Yeah, so it's interesting how they approach it. I think a lot of people are ready for some sort of revision overall to how Luigi captures the ghosts. I think that the tank controls are not everyone's favorite thing.
They're really weird in this game. They're so
they don't even feel like tank controls. I don't know what to call them, really.
I don't think there was any point at any time where I was confident where my flashlight was pointing or where the vacuum was pointing. And I don't think that's entirely the game's fault. I'm just bad at games. But, it feels super weird. But I think the place where the lack of the slam... There are two places where I'd say the lack of the slam is most... felt after you've played Luigi's Mansion 3 and you go back to this one. First of all, at fucking toy soldiers. Imagine how much better that would be if you could just slam one of them into the other. Cause
I wonder if they ever do bring this game to the Switch. I wonder if they'll bring that as well, because they did that with the 3DS. That's one of the few changes they did, is that there's a classic style play, and then there's also the Dark Moon controls where you can use that turbo rush, and I wonder if they would consider doing the slam mechanic as well.
I don't know. That's interesting.
I think it would add a lot.
Yeah, it would be... I would try. I think it would make the Boolossus fight different.
Okay, so let's talk about Boolossus, because I actually have, weirdly, a lot of thoughts about Boolossus specifically.
Go right ahead.
I think about Boolossus often.
You joke, I actually do.
I don't think Boolossus sucks, but I do think that he's incredibly lame, because... And here's the thing. I have zero evidence for this being the case. It's just a personal, feeling, a sort of gut feeling to me. It feels like Boolossus is the boss that was put in to replace a different planned boss very late in development. Because he's just a bunch of boos. And that's the boss. He's just a bunch of boos.
And they count towards your counter, too.
Yeah, and also, like, why do you gotta freeze these boos? Why do they play by different rules? It feels like this boss was a last-minute addition because they either could not get a different boss to work right, or couldn't figure out a way to do said boss without it absolutely sucking, or even, like, you know, Nintendo said, no, you can't do that one. That will scare children too much. And it doesn't feel like he's a boss that's supposed to be there, and it feels like the ice thing is just there to make him slightly less. This is just a cluster of boos.
Rumor has it that there was originally going to be a Safari Hunter ghost that you would find in the room right before Boolossus, and like that was going to be the fight. But I have not seen too much evidence other than just what I've read. There was originally going to be a chef ghost that you would fight as well in the kitchen that they completely scrapped, but you can see in the promo art for the game. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because it's like there's only 4 bosses in the game. You have a giant baby, you have the terrifying Grim Reaper character, and then you have 2 boos. And it's like
you have 2 boos. One of the boos is dressed up as a different Mario character because fuck it, Bowser needs to be in this somehow, I guess.
Bowser canonically died, and this is the end of the Mario timeline.
And I made this joke in the Twitch stream, but Bowser does not return in any of the following Luigi's Mansion games, so the canon of Bowser actually being dead remains true even to this day.
Luigi's Mansion is the game that takes place after they threw Bowser into the sun in Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
But also Professor Egad appears in Mario and Luigi, where Bowser's alive.
Yeah, right. And
where's Mario Historia, Nintendo?
Egad is also referenced in Mario Sunshine, and Bowser definitely plays a part in that game, so who knows?
My thought on Boolossus is that it kind of feels more to me like, okay, 50 is a nice round number for how many boos we want to have in the game. But, oh man, we can only come up with like 30 rooms, so let's get like 5 filler rooms, and then we'll put the rest right here in this one fight.
Yeah, it's more like, I think it's 15 boos that you get from that fight, so it's like more, 35 that they actually had to hide?
If you've been getting every boo up until then, like, you start the Boolossus fight with like, it's close to 25 boos, I think. And then you finish the fight, and it's like, oh, I've got 40 now.
Did either of you experience, I don't think Joe did, Matt, did you experience what happens if you don't have enough boos captured before you fight the boss?
No, but I am familiar with it.
I am not familiar with it.
So they do require you to capture those boos. They will not let you go to the boss if you don't have enough to pass through the door. They're kind of like the stars in Mario Sunshine.
So, like, I didn't plan to capture all of the boos, and then at a certain point, out of spite, I ended up capturing all of the boos. Mostly the spite part played in the basement, where at least 3 of those motherfuckers were the most infuriating. Those 3 specific boos, the one in cold storage, the one in the armor room, and the one from the pantry, fuck off.
Okay, so I have this memory from when I was a kid, and I don't actually know if this is in the game, because I didn't encounter it in this playthrough. Can boos go to different floors?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, because there's an image in my head of a boo flying into the ceiling, and I guess I just imagined that.
Yeah, no, they can only go through walls.
I know what you're talking about. They do that, but they're not actually going into the ceiling. It's kind of an optical illusion where they're going into like the crease where the wall meets the ceiling, and usually they're going, because it's like a dollhouse, they're going forward a room, like the butler's room to the laundry room, so to speak. I don't think... I know Polterpup in the future games goes through the ceiling, but I don't think the boos ever do.
If boos could go through the ceiling in this fucking game, I would never catch one. It's fucking That sounds heinous, and I'm glad they can't do it. It would be a war crime in my eyes.
I'm trying to think of a way for them to do that could be fun, and the only thing I can think of is if you had a co-op mode with Luigi, and Luigi could go in between floors, and like you kind of had to keep tag teaming it. I think that could be fun. But yeah, you're right. Having to constantly like walk up to a door, the whole game freezes when you're going through the door, and then you have to watch the boo laugh at you again, and then you start sucking it up, and then the cycle repeats after 2 seconds of it being in the hallway.
God forbid it goes into an area where the lights are off, and you do maybe 3 points of suck damage to it, and then it flies into another room, and then it flies into a room that's locked that you don't have access to yet, and so you're just like, well, fuck, I guess I'll get you in 2 hours, asshole.
In the I think it's worth mentioning that in the 3DS game, if you have the Boo amiibo, that will reveal to you on the bottom screen map that every 3DS game has where the Boos are at.
That is not the worst addition, I would say. That is because like I was at the point where it's okay. I'm at 49 Boos. Where have I not been?
I remember as a kid, whenever I played this game, whenever I got to the part, I would play the game and then I would stop once I got to the part where they introduced catching the Boos, because I did not want to go back to old rooms that I'd already been to after, 30 or 40 minutes of playing the game. It's like you're already making me revisit. That was always the part as a child that I was like, okay, I'm going to turn this off for a little bit and come back to it later, because I just didn't want to keep doing that. And it's nice that they eased up on it in the later sequels. Luigi's Mansion 3, there's one Boo per floor. And I did catch them all, but I didn't do that until the very end of the game. And I can say it's nice that it's not required. The only thing you get out of it is a cosmetic, and it's not like it improves your score or it improves like any of the story. It's not like it hides part of the ending. It's literally a cosmetic. You don't have to do it. Instead, they have those like gems that they hide, and that's the actual thing you want to like be on the lookout for, because the game's puzzles are all usually designed around hiding those gems. So if you miss the gem, it's like, okay, well, there's part of that floor I haven't seen yet, or a puzzle I didn't figure out. Like, that's the actual game. But yeah, they don't do that with the Boos at all.
So, speaking of the gems and the Boos, we were given a tip-off by a friend, DVD Smith, who you may or may not hear his voice later on in this very episode. But he had watched both my VODs and Matt's VOD and realized that one of us made more money than the other, specifically because one of us remembered to do something that the other didn't. And so he sent me a write-up about that, as well as screenshots of both of these. So our final totals for me and Matt. Matt made 75,260,000 G, and I made 89,715,000 G. As DVD Smith puts it, so Joe ended up with 89 million and Matt ended up with 75 million, all because of one difference. Joe saved before the final boss. When you collect the last Boo, the game saves after you get the last Boo, but before you pick up the golden diamond. Matt got the last Boo, saved the game, picked up the golden diamond, then went straight to King Boo and died, losing all progression since his last save, including the golden diamond. If Matt had saved his game like Joe did, he'd have ended up with 2 golden diamonds and $95 million and would have won the Smashterpieces Gold Rush. Remember to save your game, kids.
It sounds like you had an illegitimate victory.
That's crazy, though. I've never thought about that, but you're right. The way they designed that, there's a small window where you could totally get locked out of ever getting that reward, even if you get it. If you save, get the gold diamond, and then die to King Boo, you just never got the gold diamond. There's no way to ever get it again. That's crazy.
Well, especially nowadays, when we're so used to games, just saving when you do a thing, like a video game does now. But that wasn't the case in 2001. So that would not have been my
I don't know.
guess.
Sounds like I won.
I don't know. It sounds like, according to the data on the GameCube, I won.
I'll stream the game in October and I'll beat you both.
Xander comes in with 100 million G. Can you even get 100 million in this game, or is it 95? It's 95 the highest you can get.
Oh, I definitely did not get the max, not counting that.
No, but I will look up my recent score.
And then we were also, you know what? I want to give a huge shout out to in this game, though. Something that I don't generally give a shout out to in Nintendo games, which is weird. Man, the sound design of this game is fucking top notch. This game might have the best sound design of any Nintendo game ever.
It's like all the technical things, because we were saying that this is basically a tech demo for the GameCube. Yeah. All of the technical stuff in this game is incredible. Like, I feel like this is a full generation ahead of where it actually lands. I think it's easily one of the best looking games on the GameCube, if not the best looking game. And I think it keeps up with games that were on the Xbox 360 and PS3.
Yeah. It looks good. It sounds great. It adds so much personality that, like, Luigi is humming to himself as he's walking through the hallways, and that's the soundtrack most of the time. And then you walk into, like, a dangerous room where ghosts are still hanging out, and Luigi's still sort of humming to himself, but he's a lot more scared and he's shaky. And then you can also hear the ghosts are singing the music. It's really interesting. And I really, really like all of the sound design in this game. Just 100%. And that I'm a snob about sound design in horror games, might I say. And this is, like, I think some of the best Nintendo's ever done. Just ever. It's so well put together and everything is so meaningful. And it adds so much personality to everything.
I was going to say, even the rooms where the lights are turned on and then the quote-unquote soundtrack is, like, disabled, it's just mute, like, noise that you'd hear in a house. But, like, the way that they do it is so interesting. Like, sometimes you be at a room, a treasure chest appears, you get the key. Other times you be at a room and the key appears, but you don't know where it's at. But you know there's a key in there because you hear the little jingle of the key, and you have to kind of go find it. Or say, like, the cold storage, for instance, like, there's no music playing. You're just in a very cold room, but they convey that to you by, like, this constant blowing of the wind to make it sound like there's a draft in there, and there is, because it's the cold storage. And of course, there's a part where Luigi grabs the key and slides away. It's great. But yeah, it is very neat how they were able to incorporate so many small sound effects that add to the experience that genuinely add up to something really special.
And then when music does happen, I like to... I don't remember the exact quote anymore off the top of my head, but Akira Yamaoka of Silent Hill, he did all the sound design and stuff for the Silent Hill games. He once described his work on Silent Hill 2 as, like, the absence of sound can be made just as meaningful as the presence of it. And I think Luigi's Mansion does really well for that, because when there is music, it's either you have walked out into a yard and it's very mysterious, or it's when you're sucking up a ghost and the music gets really, yeah, go get it. And it's really neat, and it makes, when the music does drop, like, very meaningful in terms of sound design.
The actual, like, music that plays when you're capturing a ghost is so weird, and you normally don't even hear it because, like, you're not focused on it at all. But if you just look up, like, a video playing the music of the ghost catching sequences, it's so interesting because it sounds like you're listening to a song in fast forward or backwards, like that weird, like it's missing every other frame of music. It's very bizarre, but it's a lot of fun.
And the Portrait Ghosts have their own one too. That's just a little, there's a little bit more of a regular melody to it, but like, it's so well done. And look, I like games that have soundtracks. I do a whole fucking show about soundtracks and how I like games that have them, but Luigi's Mansion is, I think, up there with Silent Hill 2 of like, sometimes if you do it right, no music is just as impactful as some music. And it's just cool. It's cool to think about. I think we've successfully segued into music. Because we've now mentioned two samples that we can play, but let's talk about some of the music.
I did find the maximum amount of money that you can get.
I wanted to say my last score that I wrote down was in 2013. I've played the game many times since. The last time I actually wrote down the score was 133 million.
Oh my god.
So the maximum count depends on whether or not you are playing the GameCube version and whether or not you are playing the PAL GameCube version. So the original GameCube version, the maximum money count is 142,390,000. So you got pretty close.
That's a really weirdly specific number.
The PAL version changed up the Hidden Mansion to make it worthwhile. The Hidden Mansion being the New Game Plus mode, because they basically made it like a whole new game mode in the PAL version, whereas in the NTSC version, it's just your vacuum slightly faster and you take more damage. So in the PAL Hidden Mansion, the maximum is 186,440,000. And in the 3DS version of the Hidden Mansion, the maximum is 151,890,000.
Which I don't think I got that much, but I did platinum. I can't believe I'm saying this. I platinumed the 3DS version when I reviewed that game. And because that game has achievements in it, did you know? And it's really, really strange, but yeah, it was nice that they brought the PAL version over as the Hidden Mansion. But I was always disappointed as a kid that they give you an option saying the Hidden Mansion, and it's just the same thing again. It's like, okay, well, I guess it's a little harder now.
This is the second game this is the third game we've talked about where Totaka's song shows up.
Yeah? Well, was this the first appearance of it? Or it was in Mario Paint, right?
Yeah, I believe Mario Paint was the first time Totaka's song showed up. But for this show, we have done Yoshi's Story, that has Totaka's song in there. And we did Animal Crossing last episode, that has Totaka's song. And then this one, and I don't think we're missing any?
I don't think so.
No, they hid that song in this one. You would completely miss it. Unless you took your time reading those controls.
Oh, the first game that had Totaka's song was X. That 3D shooter on the Game Boy.
Oh, right, yeah.
I also wanted to just mention the trivia that I think I shared in the Twitch stream, that this was the last entry in the Mario series that was produced by the last member of the Yamauchi family when he was president of Nintendo.
Oh, yeah, you did mention that. Hiroshi Yamauchi, this is the last game that we'll be covering where he's listed as the executive producer.
Yep, and then it all went to Iwata afterwards.
And then Iwata's tenure lasted for almost the entire rest of our show.
Yeah, yeah, it sure did. Even at certain points well after his death, which just goes to show how, impactful he was at that company. There is actually 2 instances of Totaka's song in this game, but the first one, nobody's been able to figure out how to trigger it, which in today's data mining world probably means that there isn't a way to trigger it. But Melody, there's a sound file in the game of the ghost Melody pianissima playing Totaka's song. but we've never been able to figure out how it is like triggered, which again, considering we can now data mine like every game,
probably means it's unused.
Yeah, probably means that it's just an unused file in the files.
That's a shame. That's a good spot to hide the song in.
I don't know. It's a very cool... Totaka's song is always fun. I don't know how many more games we have that have Totaka's song in it. I'm pretty sure... I have a feeling that, like, Animal Crossing is the last one. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, it's in Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I don't think it's really used in any other series.
Yeah, I think the latest non-Animal Crossing game that has used Totaka's song is Mario Kart Wii? Mario Kart 8? One of the Mario Karts. One of the most recent Mario Karts.
Yeah, well, Mario Kart 8 is the most recent Mario Kart.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
despite being nearly a decade old.
It's oh my god, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Mario Kart 8. That's crazy.
Yeah, the Yoshis on the side of something are singing it. It
is allegedly in Brawl. I don't know how much I believe that.
I don't believe that. I don't think that's real.
But other than that, this is the final game on our list that has it. Pikmin 2 has it, but we're playing Pikmin 1.
Well, both Animal Crossing, whether we do New Leaf or Happy Home Designer, Totaka's song is in either one of those.
Okay.
So that would be the last one, and we're not going to hit that for like, what, a decade? Yeah.
Do you ever think of how successful he is? He is a gambler. He's got like his own mansion. Dude's living it.
Wait, who's a gambler? Wait, what?
Luigi.
Oh, yeah?
Do you remember the games where he like plays the dealer in a casino?
That is true. We have a lot of weird like job lore for him. I don't know where this song I'm thinking about is, but until then, I do want to give a shout out to the Bogmire boss fight theme.
Fun one with like those weird drums.
Yeah,
that come in. That's a fun song.
It's. I think the Bogmire fight is my favorite fight in the game. Even though I'm gonna be real, I don't remember how I reminded myself how it worked this time. How's a child supposed to figure that out?
Oh, I figured that out easy. You just kind of keep. It's one of those experimentation things, right? Because they're kind of blobby. And when you keep sucking one, like you just experiment. Like when you try sucking one up, they start running away from you, and so that kind of tells you, okay, they don't like the vacuum cleaner. So you keep doing it, and then eventually one of them either blows up or it turns into a ball, and it's like, okay, I now know I have something. I could probably shoot it because kids like to shoot. It's the Bulossus one where you got me. That one's a. Okay, cool. I get it that the giant one's gonna pop, but also like freezing them. Like
the only reason that I realized you could freeze them was like, why else would these ice ghosts be here?
Right. It's just kind of a process of elimination. If anything, the Bogmire fight's kind of a better tutorial for how you're supposed to beat Bowser. But it's just the Bogmire fight's a better version of compared to the Bowser fight, because they're very similar. It's just Bowser's a much bigger target.
That Bowser fight is bad, though. I'm gonna be real. That Bowser fight is really bad.
Yeah, not a big fan. It's unfortunately I'm not a big fan of most of Luigi's Mansion boss fights. I like the ones that are more puzzle based. I agree with you. I think the Bogmire fight's the best one because there really isn't too much danger other than just kind of you not getting touched by those very slow-moving shadow characters.
Granted, he still killed me one time, so...
Sure. So there's a little bit of threat, but like Luigi's Mansion 2, like one of them is just like it's like a boss rush with a bunch of minions. There's the one where you're like in a sled and it turns into like a first-person shooter for a moment. It's like seems like it I guess it's the problem where Luigi's Mansion doesn't have too many in-depth mechanics, and so they've tried beefing that up, and it just always kind of feels weird. I had always kind of wished that, like, in Luigi's Mansion 3, the slam mechanic was used in a way where you had to hit a certain target, but I don't think they ever did that. I think it was just more of like the slam mechanic is you wailing on the boss after you've solved the puzzle of how to like get to their weak point.
And this one's bosses are like Chauncey is kind of like this is how you make a platformer boss, even though he's not a platformer boss. It's really weird, but like I can't think of how else to describe it, where it's just you just dodge like 3 of his attacks and then he gives you a piece of ammo and you hit him with it.
That one's a neat fight in 3D, which the original Luigi's Mansion was going to be in 3D. They had like this 3D screen peripheral they were working on for the GameCube that they ended up abandoning, but that you can kind of tell with like the rocking horses coming flying at your screen that like, that would have been neat in 3D.
Apparently all of the code and stuff for the game to run in 3D is still there on the GameCube disc. There's just no way to access it.
That's really cool. And it was just kind of neat that like they finally realized that in some capacity on the 3DS, even though we all wanted it on Switch when that game was released. It is neat that concept was realized.
I'm still mad that wasn't put on Switch. Oh my god, what a bad idea.
Yeah, it's sore. And I guess if Luigi's Mansion 3 wasn't a thing, then maybe would have done it. But yeah, that...
What, you don't want to play the original Luigi's Mansion without a C-stick?
I don't know, that sounds... I mean, so here's the thing. Even if it came to Switch, can you use gyro controls in 3D?
I don't remember. I want to say yes.
Because, like, I feel like gyro controls, as somebody that does not often use gyro controls, because I don't like them, I feel like that might actually help a little bit with the C-stick problem. I don't know.
I don't remember. I'm going to look that up while we're talking, because I don't remember. I just remember... the small, like, they added the Dark Moon mechanic. Luigi was an option for co-op. Unfortunately, Luigi's Mansion GameCube is not designed for co-op, and so those very small hallways kind of got crowded. Also, the frame rate is really rough on the 3DS when you're trying to play that game. It's bad.
Oh, also, Matt, what are you talking about? No C-stick. That little nub on the new 3DS. That's supposedly supposed to be an analog stick. It works.
Whatever you say.
I still don't fully understand why. That doesn't, just because it functions doesn't mean it's a good idea because it's in the worst spot it could possibly be. Man, the new 3DS is weird. Okay, we should probably start wrapping it up. Do either of you have any more music you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I was about to say there's a lot. I mean, it's kind of a short soundtrack, but there is some very iconic music, particularly like the main theme and also Dark Hallways. Dark Hallways is the song that plays whenever you're in an area that hasn't been cleared of ghosts, and it's kind of just the slower version of the main theme, kind of like created in a way that's got some ambiance to it. And of course the main theme is reused in plenty of Mario spin-offs. It's kind of like, even if you've not really played the game, you probably know what the main theme of this series is. Although they don't use it too much in the sequels, they kind of just tweak it and turn it into like its own thing, which I guess you'd expect from a sequel.
I'm pretty sure the Brawl version of the Luigi's Mansion theme is the first time I had heard this song. Speaking of, real quick,
where it's like, sounds like the end of the world is happening.
Like, real quick, dude, the Luigi's Mansion stage is so good.
Kind of,
It's
yeah.
really neat.
Like you can look into the background and the rooms are there. They like modeled the rooms where they would be in the game. It's really, really neat. I really like that stage a lot. And you only appreciate it more once you've played the original game.
Right, and you can kind of tell, like, it's truncated. Like, obviously, like, the real house has considerable more depth to it, but, like, if you were to, like, take a knife and cut down the first front of the house, like, that's pretty much where all those rooms are, and that's pretty neat that they were able to do that. And then you can, like, look at the cemetery and the courtyard that's all behind the house. It's weirdly on this, like, floating, wilty Dr. Seuss island, which I always thought was, like, that's fun.
That's for Smash Brothers gameplay.
I know. I love it how Smash Brothers like was able to tweak it and also make it somehow still fulfill the style of the original. It's like that was not in the original game. It was a big old hill, but that's cool. You put it on a giant flower. Cool.
When a location gets chosen to be a stage in Super Smash Brothers, 9 times out of 10 it gets Sokovia'd into the sky. And
you think that's what happened? Is that the day that, like, in the Mario universe where that mansion's at, like, someone was like, we're going to put that in Smash Brothers, and all of a sudden it just, like shot up into the sky from, like, EGAD.
Well, I mean, the Omega form is the best part where it just turns into a spaceship, I guess.
Yeah.
That stage is cool. I like that stage a lot. But yeah, I don't have anything else.
I want to give a shout out to the end credits theme. It's one of the funkiest songs in video game history. It's pretty good if you haven't heard it.
It's up there with the weirdest part is that it feels really jarring when you hear it, which is really funny because around the same like era, Resident Evil 4 would come out, and it also has a credits theme that is super jarring tone wise.
It is considerably more upbeat, but like the way they introduce it has, I don't know what the instrument or synthetic sound is, but it's kind of like a really weird vocalization of a drum in a weird way. It's like this weird sound that they kind of bring in a few times in the game, like particularly like when a boss shows up or like when you're training, but then they go like hard on it in the end credits theme, and I've always thought it was really it's kind of a fun song. It doesn't really fit the tone of the game, but it's almost kind of like yeah, you beat the game, it was fun.
I think it makes sense that it doesn't really fit the tone because the idea is that like it's over, the mansion is gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which, speaking of, in my mind, I thought there was a cutscene for the mansion going away instead of just EGAD right after you beat the final boss being like, "Oh man, the mansion fell apart and disappeared."
Yeah, no, they did not do that.
It just happens off screen.
That happens in Smash Brothers.
Well, it's kind of interesting, though, that it's kind of interesting thinking, though, that you were underground at the time that happens. Maybe King Boo's lair was the only part of the mansion that was quote-unquote real.
Does he not teleport you to the roof?
I mean, was any of it... I mean, you go back to King Boo's lair afterwards.
That's true.
I guess I always thought it was like I don't know. I didn't take it super literally. It does take place on the roof, but like you go into the painting of Bowser, so I just kind of assumed it was like a dream sequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's also like the sky is like this crazy hell world, so.
Yeah, you're kind of in hell for a moment, which is just great.
It's sure, like, I don't know why that's so funny to me. Where like it has the same energy as he died on his way back to his home planet. Like the mansion's gone, it's not there anymore, sorry, bye.
Yeah. I could talk about this game forever, and I don't want to eat up all your time, so it's great talking about it. There's plenty more you could say, but really, it's a fun, special game.
Well, there is one more neat little thing in the game, which is a promotional movie for Pikmin.
Which is
what a great segue.
Fitting.
I mean, seriously, I thought about that. I was like, "Are you gonna watch it, Joe?" And you're like, "No, I don't want spoilers." And I'm like, but
I watched it on stream.
It's a great tie-in.
Well, that just means that I can watch Matt's VOD, and because I actually haven't watched Matt's VOD yet. I don't have a lot of time to watch things, so I tend to not watch.
You prioritize Charlie and the Chocolate Factory anyway.
That's true. That is actually a VOD I do plan on watching. Because it sounds like a fever dream.
Also, we have a GBA version of that game, and it's a completely different game. So I was thinking, like, do I do it? I don't know. We'll see.
So, speaking of, Xander, thank you for being on the show. This was a lot of fun. There was nobody else that I feel like when we were trying to think about guests from NWR, you were essentially the bulk of content during the lead up and post release of Luigi's Mansion 3. And so we could honestly tell there's a lot of passion there for the series. And I'm very glad you agreed to be on here.
Of course, we could have also had the host of the Blue Coin cast on for Super Mario Sunshine.
That's true, but honestly, you might want to just get the guy from Twitter that's doing. He sounds like he's more into it than I am, so.
It's okay, because Super Mario Sunshine is going to have, from what I can tell, a bad place in my heart, but we'll see.
Xander, there is also one more question that we traditionally ask guests of the show when they are on, and we intentionally don't tell them about this question in advance.
Okay, all right.
If you had to fight one employee of Nintendo of America, who would it be?
Nate Billendorf.
There was no hesitation.
Wow, that was fast.
I like him. I don't know him personally, so I guess I can't say like, oh, I like him. I don't know him, but yeah, dude's the voice of Shy Guy and plenty of other characters. I feel like if I wanted to fight someone, I want them to be able to like do the sound effects of the characters that I know I've already been fighting.
Who do you think would win in a fight, him or Kazumi Totaka? Windmill slam answer. Gun to your head.
I think him because he's younger.
That is true. That does give an advantage.
Dude, I mean, he's not old at all. I think he's like in his 40s. But like, guy's been working for Nintendo for a long time. He's been the voice of Shy Guy since like very long time.
I think Yoshi's Story would have been the first time that Shy Guy had a voice.
Yeah, it's him. He was also the Kerbloom guy from the Wind Waker.
Oh well, fuck that. He's the best member of Nintendo of America.
Yeah, it's Kerbloom.
He's also the scientist that does the tutorial for Metroid Other M.
Oh, no, I haven't played that yet, so I can't wait to hear him.
It teaches you how to use a power bomb, and then you never get to use one until literally the final boss.
Oh, well, good to know. Good to know.
I always remember that. So, Xander, where can people find your stuff?
I post pictures of my Animal Crossing stuff on Twitter. I'm also I write and sometimes make videos for Nintendo World Report on the website or on our YouTube channel. I pimped this out during the pre-show, but I did make a recreation of the entire Luigi's Mansion original game in Animal Crossing. You should go check it out if you haven't seen it. I didn't do very well in the views department, but that's okay because I had a great time making it.
It's crazy impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really, really neat video. People absolutely should watch.
It's one of those things where it's like, why did someone do this? Like, there's no need, but okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm online. If you ever want to just say hello, I'm available. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for being on. But unfortunately, as is tradition for guests, we're going to need you to get into that well over there.
Is Mario at the bottom?
Yeah, I was literally about to ask that. Is there a painting for me to go inside and just hang on my...
Don't worry, you'll have plenty of company. That's where we've put everybody else.
I go down there. Katie, what are you doing here? She's like, it's been a week.
Now, Katie's not down there yet. She still has to have her solo episode before we throw her in there.
Oh, I thought she was on Animal Crossing.
She was, but she'll have a solo episode later on for a Fire Emblem game. Animal Crossing was a weird special.
So I'll be waiting for her.
Yeah, you can go down there. Jordan's down there though, so don't worry. You'll know someone.
Oh, okay. Joe, I wanted to ask you, if you were a ghost from Luigi's Mansion, which one would you be, and why?
Realistically, Chauncey.
Okay.
But ideally, the muscle ghost.
I mean, I would love to be the muscle ghost. He'd be great. I feel like if it were to happen, though, I would probably be one of those, like, light purple guys that would, like, hang from the ceiling. I go, blah, 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 you know.
You know what? The green ghosts that just throw banana peels all over the place.
Those are literally called trash can ghosts.
That's relatable.
That's where this section of the episode has to end. We gotta on to the next game. And that next game is representing fighter number 40, Olimar, Captain Olimar, to some people, I guess. It is the 2001 GameCube game Pikmin.
Technically Olimar and Alf, if you want to be, like, really
Alf's
picky.
not real. I have to press a button to get to Alf. He's not real. And we are not alone for this one either, nor will we be alone for, like, I think after this next episode we have 3 guests in a row, which is terrifying to think about. Please welcome, finally, it's David, a.k.a. DVD Smith, friend of the show. Welcome, it's about damn time.
Greetings, people of Smashterpieces. I am a spaceman who has crashed into your Animal Crossing village, and I need help getting my crap together. How you doing, guys?
Well, it's a good thing we don't live in the Animal Crossing village anymore, at least.
That's true.
We're kind of homeless now. I don't know if you can help with housing.
Well,
what are you talking about? You literally just had a mansion.
Yeah, about that.
Well, no, the ending of the game that you haven't gotten yet, because we're recording this before the rest of the episode.
Yeah, that's true, but I'll probably end up with enough money to make a shack. I don't know. So, Pikmin, I've never played it. I think I played maybe like half an hour of Pikmin 3 once, sometime. I remember nothing. I've never played Pikmin.
Pikmin is one of my favorite Nintendo franchises. I mean, I should, when it comes to Smash reveals, like, I have a top 3, and then there's the rest. Number 1 was Banjo-Kazooie, number 2 was Sonic, and number 3 was Olimar. Like, I have been a fan of this franchise pretty much since it came out, like Pikmin 1. And, I was so happy to see Olimar be a playable character, because at that point, in my mind, Pikmin was like a C or D class Nintendo franchise. I had it on the same sort of level as, like, Chibi Robo. So I was thinking that if Olimar is an assist trophy, I'm gonna be happy. So I was over the goddamn moon when he got announced. I think he was the last character to get announced for Brawl before it came out, or at least before it got leaked. So
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's correct. Yeah. I think even before the game's release, he was the last official reveal. So,
yeah. So I've loved this franchise pretty much since the original. So I could probably give you some advice before you start. Matt, how much of experience have you had with Pikmin?
Well, I've played all of them. 1 and 2, I played when I was a kid, so they're in that vague zone of I don't have any actual memories of playing it. I just know the game. It's like trying to remember the first time that you see, like, Star Wars or something. You don't remember actually seeing Star Wars for the first time. It's just always been there. So Pikmin kind of falls into that for me. The first one more than the second one, and then I played 3 when it came out, and I liked it a fair bit, and then never ended up going back to it, unfortunately. But I like Pikmin, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. I played through the trilogy again all last year. I first played it in 2002. I would have been maybe like 13, 14, I think. And I got recommended Pikmin. I think I picked it up because I read in a magazine that it was Nintendo's take on, like, a cross between Lemmings and Command and Conquer, that kind of real-time strategy, sort of commanding lots of little creatures. The one thing I would say is, particularly for you, Joe, if you haven't played it before, is the main complaint that a lot of people have with Pikmin 1 is the fact that it has a hard 30-day limit, that you have to finish the entire game in 30 days. However, I never found that to be an issue. I think the first time I ever played it, without any walkthroughs or anything like that, I finished on about day 22. So what I would say is don't worry too much about it. If you do have a single day where everything goes wrong and all your Pikmin die and you just want to, burn your house down, then what I'd say is the game doesn't autosave until sunset. So if you reset your console, you can just do that day over again. In Pikmin 2 and 3, you can retry the day again. I don't know if Pikmin 1 on the Wii allows that. I know it doesn't on the GameCube. I know they improved a lot of things on the Wii version, but yeah, what I'd say is if you're not focusing on one task at a time, you should be all right. The thing about Pikmin's gameplay is all of the puzzles in it are relatively simple. I mean, it's more a case of there's a spaceship part over there. It's behind a wall of fire. I think I'll use the fireproof Pikmin for that one. So it's more about the game teaching you to multitask and get good at sending different groups of Pikmin off to do different things. And as long as you can do that, I think you'll be all right and you won't have to worry too much about the 30-day limit.
That is very good to know.
See, people often say that this is a real-time strategy, but actually, it's a roguelike. It's not at all, but I also kind of don't agree that it's a real-time strategy, so...
I mean, but what would you call it, then?
It's a puzzle action game.
It's kind of unique, isn't it?
It is kind of unique, definitely, but I don't, for what I kind of consider a real-time strategy game, I don't see that in Pikmin. There isn't a lot of strategy in Pikmin, so as much as there is just time management, because strategy to me involves an aspect of being able to think quickly and change your plans when things are going wrong. And I don't know if I agree with that being what Pikmin is. I see Pikmin as a time management kind of thing where it's like you need to figure out a way to do these things efficiently, which is in itself kind of a puzzle. So I see it as kind of like a puzzle action video game.
Well, I would say going back to when I said that the first thing I heard about it was being compared to Command and Conquer, which is a game in which you have to decide whether to proceed with the mission that you have or whether to hang back and, make more soldiers, as it were, recruit more soldiers, train more soldiers, and in that way you've kind of you have to decide whether you want to spend the day farming and growing more Pikmin, or whether you want to go out into the world and battle enemies, collect your spaceship parts, or, build bridges or whatever. So I think there is kind of sort of resource management in that. But then again, it's about multitasking again. You can be sending Pikmin off to build a bridge while you're growing more Pikmin, or replacing the ones that you lost because you went into a boss that you weren't ready for. It's I would say there's a little bit of strategy in that, but once you get good at the game, it is more just a case of getting everything done, sort of as really as fast as you can and as efficiently as you can. Yeah.
Yes, what I'm known for on this show.
Well, as we know, I'm good at video games, so I don't need to...
There is one more thing that I'm going to be attempting during this. I am going to be playing through the game normally. I'm going to be doing it on stream as well, so if anyone listening wants to follow me, I'm at twitch.tv/DVDsmith. I'll be streaming all that. But
and you should follow him, by the way.
Thanks. There is one other thing I'm going to be doing. Something that I did when I was a teenager, when I first played it. I haven't done it in like 10, 15 years, but I am going to be attempting the 9-day challenge, which is when you get 100% of the ship parts in the theoretical minimum number of days that it's possible to do that in. So basically you're playing the game as optimally as possible. I think since this was like 2003 that I was trying this, I think since then it's been reduced down to a 6-day challenge because of speedrunning glitches, but I'm going to be trying to do what I did when I was a teenager and beat the entire game in 9 days. So yeah, that should be fun to see if I can still do that.
Oh, I hope that stream happens after I'm done, because I want to see that. That sounds wild.
It's probably going to be a lot of restarting. I think it's just going to be a case of, oh, I screwed that up. Okay, reset. So it might be just multiple attempts of me just grinding it out until I can do it. But
that's a roguelike.
So there you go, everybody. If you want to build up a tolerance in time for how I will probably end up playing Fire Emblem in like 6 months, there's the stream.
I mean, you say in 6 months, but you mean like 7 more times over the rest of this podcast.
Yeah, but we won't hit the first one until like 6 months from now. I'm safe until then.
Fire Emblem, path of banging your head against a wall until you find a way that it works.
That's basically how it's probably going to end up going.
Whoa, Path of Radiance is the second one. This is Fire Emblem, the blazing headache of banging your head against the wall.
That too. I could come up with names for all of them like that. So, I don't know how I'm going to feel about Pikmin, because I believe that Matt is of the opinion I'm probably not going to like it.
I think you're going to hate it.
But also, I feel like there was a different game at some point that you mentioned I was probably going to hate, and I don't remember what it was.
Puzzle League?
But I feel like in the past, it might have been Puzzle League. I feel like in the past we've had a couple of moments where it's like, oh yeah, Joe's going to hate this game. Because it's not very hard to identify games that are going to rub me the wrong way, because I have the patience of, I don't know, like a 3-year-old? But I'm not sure. I guess it's just going to depend on how, I mean, as always, it's going to depend on how bad I am at the game, because I will get frustrated if I am bad at the game. And that's my secret, Captain. I'm bad at every video game. So
I think that the thing about Pikmin that's going to get you is probably the stress of the time limit, which, yeah, we played Majora's Mask not too long ago, but in Majora's Mask, the time limit is like a repeatable thing throughout the game, and yeah, if you run out of time in Majora's Mask, it sucks, but if you run out of time in Pikmin, you have to start the entire game over, so there's more stress to the timer in Pikmin. And I think that might be a little much for you.
Yeah, so I would say before you start, copy your save file so that you've got 3, and then sort of stagger your save files on different days, so that you go in with like you can go back like 2 or 3 days if you want, and you can spend a day either growing more Pikmin, or you can try fighting a boss again, see if you can get out of there with fewer casualties. It is the sort of game where I think once you get it down, you will get better at it. And I think, because by the time you get to the end, basically the strategy for every single boss is throw shit at it until it dies. And by shit, I mean Pikmin, obviously. So I don't think you'll struggle with it. The fact that it's you've only got 3 Pikmin to deal with in this version. You've got red, yellow, and blue, and it's just a case of knowing what each of those do and sort of, once you figure out the battle mechanics, I don't think it's that bad, but it'll be very interesting to watch you try.
Just throwing constant human resources at a problem until it just falls over sounds a lot like a metaphor for capitalism, which frankly is kind of what Pikmin 2 becomes in a literal sense.
Oh god,
yeah. I mean, that's also how I play RTSs. It's just, who needs strategy when I could summon 3,000 soldiers and just bum rush them.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you win Spore.
Yeah, but capitalism is literally the plot of Pikmin 2. So,
I could talk about Pikmin 2 for ages. That game is brutal, absolutely brutal. But you're right in that sometimes the most effective strategy in Pikmin is just to take 100 Pikmin and just smother an enemy, just swarm it and surround it until it drowns in Pikmin, and then it dies in like 2 seconds. So yeah, and that's actually quite satisfying, because you just kill everything in like 3 seconds, and then you just get on with your day.
That does sound satisfying at the very least. So there are 2 versions of this game, as far as I know. What versions are you guys playing? I have been informed by both of you that the Wii version of Pikmin 1 is what I should be going for. So I'm probably going to end up having to buy that on Wii U and playing it there, which I don't really have a problem with. But are you two playing the GameCube version or the Wii version?
I'm probably going to play the Wii version, just because I really like pointer controls. So I don't think it made any other changes.
It did. This is why I think you playing the Wii version, Joe, was probably the best, because it brought over a lot of quality of life improvements from Pikmin 2. Things like if you're going to throw a Pikmin and you're holding down the button so you don't actually throw it yet, you can use the D-pad to switch between the different colours. Whereas on the GameCube version of Pikmin 1, which is the version I'm going to be playing, you just basically had to stand Olimar next to the colour that he wanted to throw and hope that he picked up the right Pikmin.
I did not know that wasn't in the original. Wow.
It's surprising, just having played them all again, I didn't realise this either. I thought it was just literally the pointer controls was the only difference, but they did add a lot of stuff that's missing from the original. I'm still going to play the original because it's the version I grew up with, and it's the version that I prefer the controls of, because the one thing that the Wii version doesn't have is the C-stick. And the C-stick in the original on GameCube allows you to control your swarm of Pikmin, and so you can more easily direct them to, sort of surround an enemy creature, or, sort of do the charge version of the charge attack from the Pikmin 3, which is the best move in that game. And the other thing that the C-stick allows you to do is it allows you to move your Pikmin closer to Olimar, because Olimar needs to have a Pikmin within reach of him in order to be able to throw it. And if you swarm your Pikmin around him, he always has a Pikmin within reach, and you can rapid fire throw Pikmin just at enemies just as fast as you can press the button, basically. Now, I think they fixed that in the Wii version so that he just grabs them without them having to be near, within a certain range, obviously. But definitely, I think for you guys, for you, Joe, if you've never played it before, definitely the Wii version is the more user-friendly. I'm just playing the original because that's what I've grown up with.
Did they do anything to compensate for the lack of C-stick? Now that I think about it, I'd forgotten about that. That they don't have a C-stick on the Wii.
I've only played the Wii version once when it came out, and I know that they made a lot of stuff happen in Pikmin 3 to sort of improve that. I don't know if they fixed it on the Wii version of Pikmin 1, so that'll be interesting to find out. It's just
because if Joe never gets to hear the little trumpet jingle from moving Pikmin around with the C-stick, then what's even the point?
Oh, I love that. That has to be one of the music clips that you play. If you can find an isolated version of that, just have that playing in the episode.
I think that sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. Huh. But yeah, so we're gonna play Pikmin. We're gonna throw flower people at big animals on the planet where Duracell batteries live.
Not until Pikmin 2.
That's true. The product placement wasn't in the first one.
Well, what are we bothering with this then?
You're getting your crap together so you can get off the planet, which is apparently Earth, the planet that they crash land on. But I don't think it's ever confirmed.
A distant planet? Thank you.
It's a distant Duracell planet. Yes.
A distant planet that might be Earth. So this is the second game we're going to play which features a ruined Earth.
What was the first?
Because Kirby 64 has Shiverstar.
And it won't be the last.
It won't be the last.
It won't be the last. Oh no! So, anyways,
the trick is to what will happen first. What will you? Will the Earth become ruined in real life, or will you guys finish this podcast first?
I don't know. It's making a good case.
I think we already lost that race.
Probably that's the first one. Have you seen Germany? They ain't doing great. Oh boy. So, David, where can people find you? I know you mentioned your Twitch earlier, but where can people find your stuff?
So I'm pretty much DVD Smith, all one word, on everything. I'm on Twitter at that, and I'm on Twitch at that, and I'm on YouTube at that as well. So yeah, it's just DVD is in my name contracted. That's literally what it is. I'm not obsessed with DVDs or anything like that, which is
no vowels, vowels allowed.
It's a common misconception, but yeah, because I'm on vacation. I'll probably be on vacation when this episode goes out, depending on how fast Joe can find the rest of his booze. So when you two might be getting started on the game before I do, but otherwise just keep an eye on my Twitter and my Twitch, and you can find out when I'll be streaming. I normally stream in the evenings UK time, so that's afternoon for American time. But yeah, just keep an eye on my Twitter, and you can find me there.
And for us, though, you can find us at Smashterpieces on Twitter. That's what we are on YouTube. We're that on Facebook. If you really want to follow us on Facebook,
you should delete your Facebook.
All we really do there is update. You should delete your Facebook, but on our Facebook, all we do is pretty much just update the cover photo, and that's it. We should do more with it, but I don't want to. And you can also follow our editor, Peter, over at Pete Speak Easy on Twitter. And you can find him on YouTube at Rhymes with Asia, where he also co-hosts a show with me called Original Sound Chat, which is basically, if you like the, music part of this show, well, me and Peter do a show that's basically that, but the entire show. And you can follow me at String Pixel. You can follow Matt at a new Twitter.
No, it's gonna be the same at. I'm just gonna swap them when it's
okay.
When it's still gonna be Grimace Duminis. But if you have not followed the new account yet, then make sure you go do that.
Yeah.
I'm just locking my old account because it's quite old and I don't know what's on it.
Yeah.
So
I did the same thing recently.
So right now it is Grimace Numinous NU. But once I've actually made the switch, I'm gonna change the @ so that it's the same @ as before.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I've had the same Twitter account for 12, 13 years, and God knows what's on that.
At a certain point, you just sort of go, I don't want to be beholden to me at 16 years old. I was a dumbass when I was 16.
I mean, I'm still a dumbass, but yeah.
I'm a dumbass in new and exciting ways now.
Once your real name starts showing up on Metacritic, you start to worry a lot more about what people think about you.
What you mean once you start getting cited on Wikipedia?
That too.
Yeah. And the last thing, you can find me and Matt's streams over at twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report, where we have been basically just going ham on trying to build that channel. So not even just Smashterpieces. There's all sorts of stuff that we're streaming all the time.
Probably by the time you hear this, we're about to start Kingdom Hearts 2, or have already started it.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for that, if it goes well.
You mean that game that was featured in the Olympics?
Yeah, featured in the Olympics twice. You know how many Sonic songs were in the Olympics, Matt? 1. Just goes to show you.
You don't know.
What?
You don't know how many times Sonic's going to be featured in the Olympics. At least Sonic's been in the Olympics for 10 years, Joe. What are you talking about?
He's in the actual Olympics now. He's in the Tokyo 2020 game.
Don't gatekeep Olympics. Sonic was in real Olympics in my heart.
Are you going to say that Mario is a gold medalist at the Olympics now? Is that where you're going with this?
Mario never won a medal. He's a valor-stealing bastard.
I'm ending this episode. My name is Joe.
My name is Matt.
And my name is David.
And we will see you next time for our episode discussing Pikmin. In terms of music, Herschel, do you mind? I'm fucking trying to work here. Papa's trying to bring home the bread. Herschel is my cat. I figured Xander might not know that.
That's a great name for a cat.
He's named after Professor Layton.
Well, when you said Herschel, that was the first character I thought of, so well done.
What bread?
What?
You said you're trying to bring home the bread.
Yeah.
What bread?
That's
gonna make
money.
Kids say that. Kids say, let's make this bread.
We're
making our money that's going directly into Neil's pocket.